So last night I talked about the Philadelphia Flyers, how solid they look here going into the 2020 Stanley Cup Playoffs, and their matchup here against the Montreal Canadiens. It seems like a sweet deal here for the Flyers, but we're going to take a look at the Canadiens and how this could be a trap of a series for the Flyers. We'll be taking a look at the preview here in this video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey and want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. And let's take a look at this preview for the Stanley Cup Playoff Series between the Montreal Canadiens and the Philadelphia Flyers. So we are starting off the Stanley Cup Playoffs prediction series for round one of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Officially, we're done with the qualifiers and all of this stuff. Now we are down to the Stanley Cup Playoffs. 7 games, possibly to win a series, best of 7, first team to win 4 games. And we're going to be looking here at the Montreal Canadiens against the Philadelphia Flyers. So just a quick recap between these two teams so far, what they have done. We've seen in the round robin, we've seen the Philadelphia Flyers, who were originally the 4th seeded team behind the Washington Capitals, Tampa Bay Lightning, and Boston Bruins, officially take over the Eastern Conference, winning all 3 of their round robin games. And they did pretty well in those games. Carter Hart looked really solid there for the Philadelphia Flyers, and they have the top spot in the Eastern Conference, which means they get the best quote-unquote matchup out of the Eastern Conference teams. But they have a difficult competition here because they are taking on, yes, the number 12 seeded Montreal Canadiens. Now, how did this happen? They beat the number 5 seeded Pittsburgh Penguins in 4 games in a best of 5 series, beating them 3-1 in the series. And the Montreal Canadiens looked pretty solid. And not to mention the most scary thing for probably Philadelphia Flyers fans, Carey Price in between the pipes. Now, this is going to be a great matchup series between the two goaltenders. You have Carey Price, who for the past almost decade, probably one of the best goaltenders in the NHL. Now, he's had some injury issues along the way, but we could all say in essence, he is probably always in that conversation for a Vezina as one of, if not the best goaltenders in the NHL. Now you look on the Philadelphia Flyers side of things, Carter Hart has come onto the scene, coming over from Everett of the WHL, and he has been a very, very solid goaltender for the Philadelphia Flyers, putting up a .966 save percentage in his 2 games so far with the Philadelphia Flyers. Here in the round robin, he looks ready to go, and this is going to be a heck of a series. Just looking at the numbers, the goals per game for the Philadelphia Flyers, 7th overall in the NHL at 3.29. Their goals allowed per game tied for 7th as well at 2.77. Their power play right in the middle of the pack, around 20%, and their penalty kill, once again, right in the middle of the pack at 11th with an 81% in that category. Looking at the goals for the Montreal Canadiens, 19th overall in the NHL. Their goals allowed per game, 13th in the NHL. So we know the Montreal Canadiens, a pretty solid defensive team. It shows there. Their power play, that's been a big issue here for the Montreal Canadiens and could be the deciding factor overall at the end of the series. Their power play, only 17%. That's 22nd in the NHL, bottom half of the league. And their penalty kill is not much better at 78%. That's 19th overall in the NHL. And that's just kind of the scenario that we're looking at here in this series. The special teams could be a big deal. And if we saw how things went in the qualification series where there were, some games where we saw 14, 15, 18 penalties in a game, that could really favor a team like the Philadelphia Flyers, who were in the upper half of that category, compared to the Canadiens, who have really struggled on the penalty kill and the power play. And that could end up being the difference in this series. 2 very solid teams. I mean, I would love to see some of the matchups we see, because you look at some of these centers, specifically for the Flyers. I mean, you've got Sean Couturier, Claude Giroux, Travis Konechny, Nicolas Aube-Kubel, some of those guys down the middle. I mean, you go down the list, there are a lot of solid players there for the Flyers down the middle. You can throw Kevin Hayes there as well. So, that's where I think the Montreal Canadiens have a little bit of a disadvantage as well. The matchups in terms of faceoffs could be really difficult because the Flyers have some really, really good centers. And you have guys, like Philip Deneau, who I think is a huge factor there. But then you're relying on a lot of youth there down the middle for the Canadiens. You've got guys like Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Ryan Poehling, and I don't know how ready those guys are against some of these really superstar talented centers there for the Philadelphia Flyers. Again, could be a possessions game, and I think that could favor the Philadelphia Flyers, specifically in the faceoff circle. But both teams look really solid here going into the series. Like I said, though, the Canadiens are riding on a high right now. Who would have thought the Canadiens would have got past, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and the Pittsburgh Penguins? But this is a real test here for the Montreal Canadiens, and they could be, upsetting the Keystone State as they look to take down. They already took down the Penguins. Can they take down the up-and-coming Philadelphia Flyers? My prediction, I think it's going to be the Montreal Canadiens losing this series. I got you there for a second. Now, I have the Philadelphia Flyers winning this series in 6 games. I think the Montreal Canadiens have enough. I think they're going to get at least one win from Carey Price in this series, and their depth showed up in that Pittsburgh Penguins series, so I think that's good enough for at least another victory. I think they're going to send this to at least 6 games, but I think the Philadelphia Flyers goaltending, Carter Hart, has looked unreal in his first 2 games, not to mention the depth up front, and even on the back end there for the Philadelphia Flyers. I think it's just going to be too much for the Montreal Canadiens to handle. Alain Vigneault, we've seen what he's done in the past with the Vancouver Canucks and the New York Rangers. He looks destined, and I'm telling you, I'm sticking with that prediction. I think the Philadelphia Flyers are really in for a heck of a year this year. It just seems like things are working out for them, and they've got to get past the Canadiens. Like I said, this could be a trap series, but I like how this looks. But again, Carey Price, you never know, and we saw that in the last series, who nobody would have given the Canadiens a chance last series, and look how things ended up. So I may be completely wrong. Maybe Carey Price doesn't give up a goal in this series, and the Montreal Canadiens sweep the Philadelphia Flyers. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think of this series? Who do you think is going to win? The Philadelphia Flyers, the top seed in the Eastern Conference, or do you think the Montreal Canadiens pull off the ultimate upset, the number 12 seed, knocking off the first seed? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey and want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.